As Democrats hit the airwaves for the virtual 2020 convention, the Senate Intelligence Committee released its report on Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. The report concludes the Trump campaign had extensive contacts with Russians, but the committee found no evidence of collusion. Release of the Senate report comes as former CIA Director John Brennan meets with Department of Justice investigators. Brennan's testimony is considered crucial in John Durham's efforts to get to the bottom of the Crossfire Hurricane domestic spying operation. Well, joining us with more is veteran journalist Lee Smith. He is an author of a new book just out this week, The Permanent Coup: How Enemies, Foreign and Domestic Targeted the American President. So, Lee, we've seen some initial action taken in the John Durham investigation of Crossfire Hurricane, a guilty plea from former FBI attorney Kevin Clinesmith. Now, the John Brennan interview. The former CIA director shared information about Russians and the Trump campaign with senior officials in the Obama administration. So how legitimate was his information? Did he share it with President Barack Obama? And was Obama or Brennan the Crossfire Hurricane mastermind?
Well, those are all excellent questions, and I get to many of them in my book. I mean, John Brennan was, in fact, an Oval Office insider. So he was the director of the CIA, while he was also very close to Barack Obama, and he was a political figure, not just an intelligence figure. So, yes, he's heavily involved. And when he was bragging about how he was responsible for initiating the FBI's investigation, which, as we know, is the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, I decided to take Mr. Brennan at his word and look into it and see what actual role he had in starting that investigation. And it looks like Mr. Brennan has a rather central role in initiating this, as you say, a domestic spying operation against the Trump campaign, then the transition team, and then the presidency itself. So I certainly think that whatever Mr. Durham and his investigators will be asking Mr. Brennan, or whatever they found in documentary evidence, will go right to the heart of the matter.
Well, was he the mastermind or Barack Obama?
Well, there's certainly, we've seen documents over the last several months now, declassified, that show that Barack Obama was certainly involved in the investigation of General Flynn. There was a document declassified at the end of June showing that Barack Obama told James Comey to investigate Flynn, to continue to investigate Flynn.
And get the right people on it, right? The right people.
Precisely. Make sure you look at everything and get the right people on it. Exactly, which is telling him to investigate General Flynn. Earlier on, yes, certainly, if John Brennan is showing or telling Barack Obama, or putting information on his desk, as we know from reports, putting information on his desk in August of 2016, 100% Barack Obama was read into this investigation. Was he the mastermind? That's not clear yet. But certainly we have to remember, we've been talking about Hillary Clinton's role for the last 3 years since the Clinton campaign paid for the Steele dossier. However, it's important to remember all of these people, all of these intelligence chiefs worked for Barack Obama at the time. James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, Andrew McCabe. These were all Obama's people. That's central to understanding what's been going on here in the last 4 years.
Yes, and I remember from my history that Harry Truman said the buck stops here. On July 24th, 2016, the narrative began when Hillary Clinton's campaign manager claimed that Russia had hacked into the DNC computers and stole emails, gave them to WikiLeaks. Why was that central to the narrative? And what about Julian Assange? He refuted that, saying that Russia was not the source of the emails that he published, but now he's in prison. Many Americans still believe that narrative. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, among the documents that we saw declassified over the spring by acting DNI Director Richard Grinnell and his deputy, Kash Patel, who plays a large part in this book and played a large part in my previous book as well. One of the things that we know was the people who claimed the private organization, private company, CrowdStrike, which had been hired by the Clinton campaign to investigate that hack, said one of the owners testified, there was actually no evidence that the Russians were behind it.
And finally, you say this coup will not end if Donald Trump is reelected in November. Why is that? If people actually go to jail, won't the effort end? Because there would be a price to pay.
Yes. If we look at one of the things that's happened now, we see how what started with a massive conspiracy theory known as Russiagate, or Russia collusion, has now turned into this nonsensical story, this mailbox conspiracy. But what they're doing is they're laying the groundwork before the election to, in the event that Donald Trump is reelected, his victory will be delegitimized. They're laying the groundwork for conflict. That's what happens when you tell half of the people in the country that their choice is illegitimate and he has to be moved out of office through extra constitutional means. That's what I mean when I say the coup will continue. There will be further operations targeting not just the president, but the way that we live as Americans. Our political processes are more as, if you look at what's happened over the last several months during the spring and summer, the way that American cities have been targeted by Antifa and BLM, both of which have support from the Democratic Party. So yes, unfortunately, and certainly worryingly, the coup will continue.
Okay, rough seas ahead. We'll see how all of this fleshes out. Lee Smith, you're the author of the just-released book, The Permanent Coup: How Enemies, Foreign and Domestic, Targeted the American President. Thank you for sharing those insights today, Lee. Appreciate it.
So much for inviting me.